All right, it looks like our sound's good, and we'll get things underway. So again, welcome. So good to see some familiar names there and some of our clients. We do have some clients on this session. We do have some new guests, so welcome everyone. This really is a training session, of course, for some of our clients, but we're very happy to have guests join us because we really want to share this information we have about how to improve the optimise the profit, cash flow and workflow for your trade business. So just while we're waiting for some of our more participants to join us, I'll introduce myself. My name's Glenn, as you would have seen on the invitation, and I have spent my entire working life in the building industry and in the trades industries. I started my career as a carpenter, did apprenticeship with my old man, really enjoyed those times, and studied building supervision off the back of that time as a chippy. Finished my building supervision work and went to university actually and got a Bachelor of Business degree. And when I graduated with that degree, I came back and started a building company in my late 20s. That building company had quite a bit of success and was ranked as one of Australia's fastest growing building businesses, had franchisees and still does have franchisees, and enjoyed a lot of success. Nowadays, I work as a coach in the industry, coaching trade businesses to really do what we're going to talk about today, how trade businesses can optimise their profit, cash flow and workflow. That's at the very heart of what we focus on. And in addition to that, I've also done some work in an advisory capacity with the Reserve Bank of Australia and volunteer with the HIA as a committee member with the HIA. So as you can see, done plenty of time in the industry, really focusing nowadays on helping trade businesses achieve the best they can. And I'm looking forward to sharing that with you this afternoon. So most importantly, everything we teach this afternoon is really about sustaining optimal profit, cash flow and workflow. Many of you guys would have experienced some profit, some cash flow, some workflow. Really want to focus this afternoon on what we'd call the Pareto principle, or that 80-20 rule, because you'd know there's a lot of complexity in business, and we're really focusing on the critical distinctions, the things that, the small hinges that swing the big doors would be another way of looking at it. And those are the things that give us the big upside results with those three: profit, workflow and cash flow. And that's where we're going to focus our attention this afternoon. And that's where we focus our attention for all our clients. So again, I really want to welcome you. I've got lots of information I want to share in the next sort of 45 minutes, 50 minutes. To get optimal value from the session, please switch off your mobile phone, close the door, turn the telly off, whatever else is going on, and just let's lock down and have a good look at this information, because I think what we're going to share is really going to have a big impact for you guys. So let's jump straight into it and look at what's going on in your business right now. So this guy here, he's got lots of emotions going on, and I'd like you to have a think about where things are at with your business right now. You could be the guy third left from the top. He's in a world of pain. It's horrible. There's no profit. You're struggling with workflow and cash flow. Maybe you've just had one of your best people leave, or you can't find good people. Whatever it is, things might be terrible at the moment. Or you could be the guy second from the bottom on the left. Life's a beautiful thing. You've got plenty of profitable work. You're booked out with A-grade clients. Your cash flow's strong and your future's looking bright. But I guess we'd all say the reality is that we experience every one of these phases in business. And business can be a cruel thing, and hopefully you've also experienced some of the upside in business. So my role today is really to help you try and sustain the smile. You really want to be the smiley face most of the time. Of course, it's not a perfect world, and we can't have the ideal scenario all the time, but let's try and have it more often than not. So here's the problem, of course. Business is a struggle. Let's face it, at the best of times, trade businesses, we can have real issues with this inconsistency of profit, cash flow and workflow. And I'm sure many of you have experienced that and can relate to that problem. You might have had a good run lately. I'm seeing plenty of our clients at the moment having a good run lately. but the question is, how sustainable is that? How can we sustain the good times? Because the industry typically goes through good times and then poorer times, and we certainly have enjoyed good times of late. But if you do get in a slump, how do you unslump yourself quickly? Because there's one thing I'm very certain of, and that's the fact that times are changing, and they're changing exponentially. So from a business development perspective, we've seen significant changes in the industry over the last 3 years, and I know the next 3 to 5 years are going to be much the same. We're going to see significant changes. So it's really important we look at how we structure and systemize your business for these three things: optimal profit, optimal cash flow, and optimal workflow. It's never been more critical. Now, a lot of trades, when they start working with us, and I'm sure you guys would express similar feelings, it just feels like they're pushing too hard for the results they're achieving. They're working too many hours. In fact, I recently had a conversation with one of our guys, and he said, feels like he's on a hamster wheel, you know, the proverbial hamster wheel, just running, chasing the next check, chasing the next job. And some guys are pushing the sort of 70, 80 hours a week. And of course, that's not the case with everyone. Some guys are really doing exceptionally well. And if you're one of those guys, look, I want to say, stay on. Let's have a listen with what we've got to share today, because you can always take things to the next level. Whether you're pushing too hard or you're doing very well, there's always another level. And that's our objective today, to find the optimal profit, cash flow, and workflow for your business. Sadly, though, of course, I've talked to many grown men and women who are just essentially crying their eyes out because they feel like they're forced to forfeit time with the kids, forfeit personal time doing the paperwork in the evenings, whether it's pricing the next job, getting the BAS ready, doing the payroll, whatever it is, it's not a good thing. We don't want that. So let's have a look at what can be done. Of course, profitability slipping away is another problem I hear about a lot from our trade clients, and it's a big challenge. Profitability just seems to slip away at times. Maybe you've experienced this yourself. And it's one of the core reasons we find for guys not achieving profit, or when they do, they lose it, is because they don't know their break-even point. And later on this session, we're going to have a good look at break-even point, how you can understand that for your business. The other reason, of course, is they're not pricing jobs correctly, or they're losing profit on jobs. And cash flow is another issue that's strongly related to this. There may be profitability, but if there's a cash gap where the money's going out before it comes in, that can create lots of challenges. And I'm sure you can relate to that. Ultimately, if you want to be profitable, like I mentioned before, you need to have the right structures in place, and the right structures and systems give you efficiency. And of course, efficiency lends itself to profitability, and with profitability, you can create good systems, and then you have a good team to run those systems. So these are the ideas we're going to spend a bit of time thinking about today. This how profitability is connected with good systems, and your systems run your business, and your team runs your systems. So right now, we're going to talk about team, because a lot of guys are finding it difficult to find good people. I hear this quite a bit now, sessions with clients, finding good subbies, good supervisors, good staff. It's really quite a challenge. And if you've got good people, I know many of you guys do have good people, the fear comes to losing them. You might have a real gun office admin person that manages a big chunk of the business. And then if something happened to them, if that suddenly turned around and they left you, that'd leave a big hole in the business. So I'm sure you're relating some of these challenges. They're common challenges in the industry. So my promise to you today, guys, is we really want to talk about the fundamentals for systemizing your business, so you can totally maximize your profit. As I said before, maximize your profit and then sustain it, because we don't have a lot of time, of course. We've only got 45 minutes together. So we're going to talk about the critical distinctions, the things that swing, the small hinges that swing the big doors of profit, workflow, and cash flow. And I want to ask you to take notes, please. My job here now is to deliver as much information to you as possible. you've invested your time. I would like you to grab a notebook, grab a pen, and please take some notes, because when we hit on something that's critical, and I'm sure that's going to happen, because I've got lots of points of reference to discuss, it's only going to be useful to you if you do something about it. And I'm really going to emphasize the points that are the critical. I'd like you to take notes, put an asterisk next to the thing that's going to be something you're not doing that you need to do. I'm going to ask you to put an asterisk there. And if you are doing it, and I'm emphasizing it, you can put an asterisk there too and say, keep doing it. So we're going to focus on the fundamental systems for running your business. And if you get these in place, you're going to look a lot like this guy, a real professional. He's looking very sharp there. So we talked about systems briefly, but systems are really where all this starts. You need to look at the areas of business that most impact your profit, workflow, and cash flow. They need to be more systems dependent. So why would you want that? Well, it means if someone does leave you quickly, you can replace them and know that the systems are there to keep that part of the business functioning. You want to have the critical areas nice and simple and efficient. Now, on the screen is a great example of a business system that is, it's 99% systems dependent and very low people dependency. And our goal for our clients, and this is very achievable in many aspects of your business, we can create systems that are low on people dependency, and that's the ideal outcome. Turn your business into a vending machine style business. Now here's what we're going to cover. I'm going to just run through the agenda. We're going to look at the 10 essential areas for your business success, and I want to hit on which in your business needs the greatest attention right now, and then we're going to look at the sequence for implementing these changes in your business. And this, of course, is where most guys come unstuck. They can identify where the weakness is, but what's the sequence for implementing the changes? That's, of course, more challenging. And we're going to identify a roadmap for implementing the systems and structure. We're going to talk about some real-life examples, because that, of course, helps all of us if we can hear what other guys are doing. And then, ideally, you guys are writing some things down that are relevant to your business, and then looking at how to implement those things. Of course, you're going to get plenty of light bulb moments. I want you to capture those on paper. And if you don't get the stuff down, of course, you're not going to get a result. So let's get a snapshot of your business right now. We call this the profit wheel, and it doesn't really matter whether you're a sole trader or you've got one of Australia's largest trade contracting businesses. Each one of these areas is relevant. So if you're an existing client, I still want you to have a look at this profit wheel, because it's just good to recheck in terms of your business development journey and see where things are at now and score yourself. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at these 10 things. So going around the wheel, we're seeing strategies, marketing, capital, sales, delivery, admin, finance, systems, team, and leadership. And inside the wheel, at the heart of the wheel, is this profitable cash flow scenario, which is what we're trying to achieve for your business. Now, I'm going to go through each one of these. We're going to talk about them, and I would like you to give yourself a score from 0 to 10, each one of these business components. Now, 0 is going to be, you're going to give yourself a score of 0 if you're totally pathetic at this, abysmal, you can't imagine doing this part of your business any worse, and you're going to give yourself a score out of 10 if you're really crushing this and you really can't do any better. The reality is you're likely to be giving yourself 1s and 2s and 8s or 9s, because of course in most things there is always a little bit of room for improvement, and but the other things that you will be doing to some extent. So let's go around the wheel together. Please give yourself a score, because from this we're going to start to get a picture of where your business is at. So starting with strategy at the top there, do you have one? Do you have a strategy for your business? Do you have a direction you're taking your business? Do you have a strategy for the other areas as well? Very important. It's quite easy to say, do I have a strategy for my marketing? Do I have a strategy for my finance? Do I have a strategy for my team? Just think about, do I have this overarching strategy that's taking my business in a certain direction? Please give yourself a score for that. Next, we're looking at marketing. How do I approach my marketing? Have I got the old ad in the yellow pages? Do I have a social media strategy? Do I have this funnel that attracts A-grade clients into a lead generation system and then keep those inquiries coming consistently? Do you test and measure that? Look, please give yourself a score somewhere between 0 to 10 on marketing. What about capital? Capital's next. Do you have enough capital in your business? Do you have enough capital to successfully do the other things that need doing in your business, as in your delivery systems and your marketing, and businesses that are undercapitalized, of course, really struggle. So please score yourself there whether you have a strategy for your capital. What about your sales conversion? It's one thing to market. How are we converting those sales? Do you know what ratio of sales you're converting? Are you converting 1 in 10, 1 in 4, 1 in 2? Do you have a system for how you sell? Many don't, of course, and it's sometimes you think, how do I systemize that? Look, if you haven't thought about this, you might think about giving yourself a low score, and we can, of course, help with that as we move through this session. So what about job delivery? Delivery being you're actually doing the trade work. Hopefully you're good at that. Do you know your trade? Are your staff well trained? Do you deliver your work on time, on budget, consistently and to standard? What's it like? Please give yourself a score there, 0 to 10. Administration is the next one here. So this is how well your office functions really. You might have hard copy office, you might have a paperless office. And I guess that you're rating yourself somewhere between total chaos and a paperless, smooth running office environment. Give yourself a score here, please. And the next one's finance. These two words, finance and profitable cash flow, really relate to each other, of course, but finance is about the way you engage with lenders and the way you run your financial systems, the financial reporting. There's a whole aspect of finance here. And if the word finance means nothing to you and you've got no idea what's going on financially in your business, you're gonna think about giving yourself a 0 there. But if you're very tight with your accountant and bookkeeper and you're all over it, you're not going to score yourself a 0 there. You're going to be up around the 8s, 9s, and 10s. So are you making a profit after you pay yourself? Is money coming in before it's going out? These are the sorts of things your financial system's measuring. Do you understand your break-even point? Do you have a handle on your profit and loss? Can we track your job numbers job by job? Again, really important. We need to track your numbers job by job. So the next one is systems, and there's an easy way to measure this, and I want you to consider if you took a phone call right now and had an opportunity to drive to the airport and go on a holiday for a month. You're going to be away for 30 days. On the way to the airport, you can make one phone call and let that key person in your business know that you're going to be away, and then you're gone. Away for 30 days, what does your business look like when you get back? Do you still have a business? Does everything grind to a halt as soon as you're not contactable? Or is it business as usual? The system kicks in, your team are running the system, and guys, this is really the litmus test. Please give yourself a score here between 0 and 10 about what your business would look like under that scenario. That scenario where you're driving to the airport, away for 30 days, to got one phone call on the way. What's left of your business when you get back? Now, team's our next one, and look, an easy assessment here on team is if you fire everyone that's working for you today, who do you re-employ tomorrow? If you re-employ most of your guys or all of your guys, you're going to give yourself a high score here. But if there's some challenges and you'd really think twice about re-employing your team tomorrow, maybe you would consider a lower score here. Please have a think about that and score this. And finally, leadership obviously relates strongly to teams. The two interact very closely. But this measure of leadership is really about you as the business owner and operator, the leader of the business. It's a little bit subjective, of course, and you might be thinking, how do I rate my own leadership? Well, here's a few suggestions. It's about how authentic you are in the business. It's about you walking your talk. When you say you're going to do something, do you do it? Can you back yourself? Can you rely on yourself? Can you trust yourself? Are you doing what you say you're going to do? And providing genuine, authentic leadership to the business. And again, we'll talk a little bit more about this as we go on. But please rate yourself in all these areas of your business, and then see where your 8s are, see where your 8s and 9s are, see where your 1s, 2s and 3s are. And I just want to encourage you at this point, if you're seeing lots of low scores, don't be despondent, because really the start of a journey in business development is identifying where the weaknesses are, because there's plenty of opportunity for upside potential if we can identify where the weaknesses are. Of course, if your page is 8s, 9s and 10s, fantastic, and there's obviously things we can do to tweak a business like that, but the likelihood for a lot of trade businesses that I work with anyway is that there's going to be weaknesses, and this really helps us focus our attention on where those weaknesses are, because if you imagine this was spokes in a wheel, and the wheel, the smooth turning of this wheel results in profitable and consistent cash flow and workflow, a few kinks in this wheel is really going to make it difficult to run smoothly and get the outcome we're looking for. So the objective of what we want to think about and achieve and start that journey today really is to see, let's get the kinks out of this wheel. Let's focus on as much improvement as we can, and if you've got plenty of kinks, then there's plenty of room for improvement. Now, there's lots of complexity, as I said, in business, and the Pareto principle, or the 80-20 rule, says we focus on the 20% of things we do that give us 80% results. And I really want to spend a few minutes now just simplifying the three main areas. So the first thing we need to do is attract A-grade prospects. So it's not just any prospect. We really want to be clear and say our task is to attract A-grade prospects, and we need to understand who our A-grade prospects are, and there's a process for that, of course. But there's a really great analogy. Your business or your customers are like a shoebox full of wood chips and iron filings, and your business is the magnet. You've got to try and attract the iron filings out of the wood chips. You don't want to attract everyone. You just want to attract these A-grade clients through a good sales and marketing system. You want to attract the right customers into your business and not chase the customers. And obviously you'd know that if you chase customers, all they do is run. Marketing's about attracting the right customers. So that's the first fundamental thing we're trying to do. And then once you've attracted these A-grade prospects, we want to convert those quality contacts into jobs. Ideally, if you've got a good sales and marketing system, you'll be in a position of power. And what I mean by that is you'll be in a position to choose who you work with. We're not suggesting you dominate or manipulate the situation anyway, but you're in a position where you can choose who you want to work with rather than the other way around. And that's really where we want to get your business to. You're booked out with A-grade clients and doing A-grade jobs for those clients, meaning very profitable work, people you enjoy working with, and people you're going to refer other people to, that are going to refer other people to you like themselves. And finally, once you've attracted and converted those clients, then we look at a systemized delivery process where your trade work is delivered in a systemized and smooth way. So the big question I want to think about, guys, is who's driving your business? When you think about all these aspects, who is really driving your business? You're like this guy where he's got this device driving his business. Are you proactive or reactive? Now, when you get up each day and face a new day, are you going through a process where you know what you're doing, you're following your system, you're following what you've diarised, or you're just reacting to the chaos that your business might be experiencing at the moment? How much control do you have? We'll just pause now and just check in terms of the Q&A option that's here, guys. Does anyone like to share where they see some weaknesses right now, or some strengths? If you've got any comments, please type them through. I'd be interested to see that the sound quality is still good, and you followed through that process with the profit wheel, which is really the starting point for understanding your business. So some comment there, and we'll move into the next part of our session. So just while you're finalising those comments, there's really two types of clients we see, two types of tradies. The reality is there's the majority of trades, and they're good at what they do, and the myth is if they keep doing that, then they keep doing their trade well, that their business is going to get better. And most of you would understand, obviously, that that's not the fact. If you keep doing your job better, your business isn't necessarily going to get better, because, of course, times are changing. You really need to develop your business acumen. You need to understand how to run your business. And the first part of that's getting some proper systems in place and starting to make changes to your business. Guys, the ball is really in your court. You need to, as the leader of the business, you need to take control. And it sounds so obvious, and just saying it just sounds like, well, of course, that's obvious. But I know a guy that turned his business around, and it often happens this way. He was in a bit of a slump, got a wake-up call, and realised that, in his words, he was in the engine room and there was no one in the helm of the ship. Who is steering your business right now? What you need to do is get out of the engine room, get up and become the captain of the ship, start leading and directing things, get some business acumen. Sure, the trade skills are fundamental, but the business acumen, I would suggest, is equally important if we're going to get this scenario of profitable workflow and cash flow for your business. It's absolutely crucial, guys. From a perspective of sport and business is no different. You'd know that 50% of the game, 50% of success in everything we do is mindset, and that's why leadership is so important to your business success. And I'm not suggesting, of course, that you've got to mould yourself into something you're not. If you're a great tradesman and you're saying, well, I don't know a lot about business, Glenn, but I understand that I've got to do something. You've simply got to just step up. You've got to step up, start being a leader, start running the business, and getting some advice that's going to point you in the right direction. It doesn't matter if you've got a Richard Branson style or a Donald Trump style. You can still be very, very successful if you start to take control and do that in a specific sequence. And this is where most people come unstuck, of course. You can't put systems in place willy-nilly. It needs to happen in a specific sequence. We start by building a foundation, and that's exactly what I'm going to run through now. So we're going to talk about the foundation, and there's three main areas. But once you've got a solid foundation, then you can start to market and promote and sell your business. Once you do that, you can generate systems and profitable cash flow, and then work on your team to delegate and run those systems. And the cycle repeats itself, but the building the solid foundation is where it all starts. The rest of it above the foundation is impossible to implement until we get the foundation right. And that's the next part of what we're going to talk about. So the foundation is really two things, your financials and your time management. You can't grow a business until we've got an understanding of the financials, and we've got financials we can use to make decisions with. And we can't grow a business until you've got clarity around how you're managing your time and how your team manage your time. Role clarity is critical and from a foundational point of view in getting your business right, as is financial, an understanding of your financials and the right financial information. So we'll start with financials. When it comes to money, well, if I say to you right now, profit, cash flow, the ATO, tax, these words I've been using since our session started, how does it make you feel? Do you feel like this guy here, he really doesn't want to know about it? It's difficult, brings up a lot of anxiety, and of course plenty of people feel like this when we talk about money. What we really want you to feel like is that feeling you had when you're 9 years old. It's Christmas morning, you come downstairs, there in front of the tree was the gift you wanted, the exact gift that you'd imagine you were getting on Christmas morning. That feeling of excitement, I hope you've all experienced that, but imagine if we could bottle that emotion. Imagine what that'd be worth. Now, I've had clients say to me, Glenn, it's impossible. I can't ever imagine holding those thoughts together. My financials and feeling like the 9-year-old on Christmas morning getting the perfect gift, they're just worlds apart right now. But I want to say this is the goal. This is the goal for our clients, and I'm pleased to say it's a goal that we've seen realised with guys saying, I'm stoked, it feels like Christmas, tomorrow I'm going to see my bookkeeper, I'm in control, I know what I'm measuring, I know what I'm achieving, and I'm just, life's a good thing. So it is possible, and it's about understanding the numbers, being able to do something to influence those numbers, start making money consistently and sustaining that outcome. That's hugely important. So the fundamentals of financial system, the first thing we want to consider is what's your pricing strategy. So this is a question I ask everyone on the outset: how do you price your jobs? And I know a lot of you wouldn't be surprised by the answer, that the typical approach is you calculate your labour and materials and then put a markup or a margin on top of that, and away you go. But obviously the amount you put on top is the part that we need a lot of clarity around here. Some guys' approach is I put 10% on, I put 20% on, I put 30% on, and that was what I was told in the pub when I was an apprentice, and that's just the way we do it. And of course, there's a lot more logic needs to be applied to this process. Your markup needs to be a function of your business overheads and your break-even point. We really need to anticipate your ideal turnover for a period. And mark this down, guys. If you don't get anything else today, you'll certainly get this. Need to anticipate your turnover for a given period, identify your fixed costs, and say what profit are we looking for out of this business, and then mark up the costs to cover the overheads. You're going to break even initially and then achieve a profit. And in trade business, that's different for everyone. So it's really, really important you approach your pricing strategy in a systemized way, that you will cover your overheads, you will break even and then achieve a profit based on your anticipated turnover. What I can say, guys, is this idea that you just go with the price the guy down the road charges, or you accept the price of your nearest competitor. That's a disaster waiting to happen. I see it time and time again, and I don't want that pricing approach for any of you or any of our clients. So please have a think about how you're pricing, and if you're not sure about what I'm discussing here, please give me a call. Now, the other thing I want to say is we've got to chase the margin and then the revenue. Well, a lot of guys have got the opposite way around here. They're chasing the revenue. Let's sign the next job. Honestly, you've got to stop the bus. You've got to stop chasing the revenue, and we've got to start understanding the numbers and start measuring job by job profitability and find out where your most profitable jobs are. And of course, the reason you need to know where your profitable jobs are is how you're going to know what clients to chase, these A-grade clients you're looking for, if you don't know where your profitable work is. So we want to look at those last 10 jobs, look at the profit, and convert that profit to percentage so you can work out where the profitable jobs are in percentage terms. and then target that type of work. Now, for a lot of you, again, this could be the single most important thing you ever do. This idea of stop chasing the revenue and start chasing the margin could redefine your business for the next 10 years. Please stop, look at the numbers. If your financial systems don't allow you to measure job by job profitability, then talk to your bookkeeper, talk to your accountant, get a financial system that will achieve that, identify the most profitable work, and then pursue more of that work. And of course, if you do that, you'll send your profit through the roof in most cases, and that's what we want for you. Please asterisk this. If you're not doing it, start doing it, and if you are doing it, continue doing it. You need to keep going back, looking where your profitable work's coming from, and pursuing that type of work. If you don't have a decent financial system, all this is impossible, of course, but I will talk about your financial system. And what numbers you should be looking at. Quite simply, your profit and loss statement's crucial. That's going to tell you money in, money out, what your gross profit is. It's then going to give you your break-even point. Now, there's a break-even point equation, and again, guys, I encourage you to write this down. It does require your gross profit margin and also your fixed costs. So please talk to your accountant, talk to me after this seminar, but using your gross profit margin and fixed costs, we can quite easily establish your break-even point. Your balance sheet is not as important in day-to-day operation of your business. It tells you the net worth of your business. Obviously, we're keeping an eye on that, and certainly your banker will be keeping an eye on that, but less useful in decision-making day-to-day. But your break-even point is quite simply your fixed expenses divided by your gross margin as a percentage. Now, if you'd like to note that down, I'll just repeat that again. It's your fixed expenses divided by your gross margin as a percentage. It needs to be reviewed regularly. You need to know what sort of turnover you need to do to break even with your current business structures. The last couple here, we're looking at cash flow and revenue. Very critical, guys. You need at least a 12-week cash flow forecast. And for our existing clients, please think about compliance around this. This is something you need to revisit regularly. Have a cash flow forecast and revenue projection. When was the last time when you looked at it? When was the last time you did one? And a work in progress report. Now, those of you that are using software systems, most software systems will allow you to generate a work in progress report. It's very critical that you pull these 5 things together to have a comprehensive financial overview of your business. Okay, now you hear me saying we want to have sustainable and optimal profit. Well, how do we do that? How can we go from where you might be at the moment to a more profitable business? Here's a quick and obvious 5 points, and without dwelling too much on each one, but we will briefly touch on each. Increasing your pricing seems obvious, but a lot of guys don't do this because they're nervous about pricing themselves out of the market. Look, the first point, guys, is it's something you do incrementally. You don't increase your price massively overnight, or that might be the exact effect you have. But we do want to increase your pricing gradually by going back to this marketing strategy where we're targeting A-grade clients. If we change the way we market the business, so all of a sudden you can negotiate price as being a lesser issue, all of a sudden you are the professional in that space, in your unique niche, working with these A-grade clients that are coming looking for what you've got to offer, all of a sudden you can start to increase your price incrementally to become a more profitable business and become a price setter rather than a price taker. Number 2 and 3 is about reducing your fixed costs and reducing your cost of sales. And a lot of businesses, there's lots of work to do in this space. How are we negotiating with the suppliers? How are we purchasing things? How are we getting the right outcomes around our fixed costs and our cost of sales? A lot of businesses carry on and don't circle back and look at these issues because, of course, every dollar you save here in your fixed costs and your cost of sales goes straight 100% onto your bottom line as increased profit. We also want to reduce our inefficiencies, and we're going to spend a bit of time looking at that very shortly. But this is about making sure everything you do in your business is done the most efficient it can be. You're not doubling up, you're not doing things you shouldn't be doing. And finally, find your blue jobs. And when I say your blue jobs, I'm talking about those profitable jobs. Of those last 10 jobs you did, which are the most profitable and why are they the most profitable? We've got to identify them, we've got to find them, and then we've got to do as many of those types of jobs as possible. So these 5 simple things can have a massive effect on your profitability, and I'm sure you'd agree they're worth considering regularly. The other things I'd say is use your own contracts, negotiate better terms with your suppliers, and do whatever it takes. I know, this sort of conversation can make people uncomfortable, but your profit is a measure of your business success, and you just need to understand that if these things are beyond your immediate ability, this is the sort of things we work through our clients every day, helping them to extract this sort of increased profitability out of their businesses. So that's the financial side of things, guys. The next thing we're going to talk about is time, how you spend your time, because they're the 2 foundational things we're looking at. This Pareto principle we keep coming back to, the 80-20 rule. 20% of your time gives you 80% of your results. We need to get clarity around this, how your team spend their time, make sure there's not overlap, how you spend your time, make sure you're spending it on those tasks that are going to get you the biggest results around profit, cash flow, and workflow. There's no point you spending 80% of your time on these things that are just giving you really 0 results. So I want to challenge you right now to say, as a business owner, are you the bottleneck in the business? This is very important. Please asterisk this. You don't want to be the bottleneck in your business. And so many times, business owners have had to say, do they need to fire themselves? Do they just need to get rid of yourself if you're the one holding things up in your business, especially if it's a low fun, low task job? And a classic example of this, and I'd see this in a high percentage of our clients, is guys that are good tradesmen, good leaders in their business, they're doing the bookkeeping. It's a classic example of something that most trade business owners should not be doing. It's low skill, not that it's low skill, but it's certainly low fun. And if you need to be outsourcing your bookkeeping, get someone else to do that so you can focus on the things that are critical for your business to be profitable. And there's many others, of course, but bookkeeping's a classic example. Review all your tasks. Not all your tasks are going to have equal priority. So the best way to do this is to write down everything you need to do in the week and then start to prioritize what are the tasks that are going to give you this optimal profit and cash flow. We really need to identify these tasks if we're going to do this properly, because many of your tasks relate a lot more heavily to increasing or improving or optimizing your profit and cash flow. So we really need to identify what those tasks are. But in most of your businesses, it's going to be different. And that's why individually you need to think about the tasks that are going to get that outcome. Here's a great example of a default diary. Any of you guys not using a diary, I need you to put an asterisk next to that and say, get a diary and start using it. It's very, very difficult to bring systematic improvement to a trade business unless you start with a diary. Might be an electronic diary. Plenty of guys are going across to that. Here you can see an example of an electronic diary. Handwritten diary, nothing wrong with that either. So grab a diary, list all your tasks, and your tasks are what we saw in that profit wheel. So just break it down into those sort of headline tasks: finance, sales, admin, marketing, etc. And highlight the tasks you're going to do. And in this example, it's a husband and wife business. So he has highlighted the task he's going to do in blue. She has highlighted the task she's going to do in pink. And they've shared those tasks so that everyone knows what they're doing and they're approaching their week in a very systemized way. You see, it's as simple as identifying the tasks that are going to give you the biggest uplift in profit and cash flow and workflow, and then making sure those tasks get done. Now, this could be a 1 or 2 hour session in your business. Depending on the size of your business, it might be a bigger task than that. But it's so critical, if in a foundational level with any business, that this process is commenced. And then from this, you can develop your KPIs. Now, for those of you, KPIs is a new expression. KPIs is your key performance indicators. They're the things that are going to go into your weekly plan first. They're the things that you're going to test and measure to make sure they're being done. So it doesn't matter if it's a hard copy, doesn't matter if you're using a computer, whatever way you're going to do it, get a diary, identify your tasks that you're going to test and measure, and make sure they're done well. So again, I just want to check in. Please have a think what's been the most useful to you. Shoot through any questions, observations. I'm interested to see what you think, what changes you see you need to make in your business straight away, and share any of those you feel comfortable sharing. And we'll finish off our session in a few minutes. So, is anything you'd like to share? Please get that through. So the big question, of course, is with all this is where you're going to be in 5 years' time. The things I've shared today and the things I've asked you to asterisk are really going to be determiners or really going to answer this question: where will you be in 5 years' time? If you keep doing things exactly the way you're doing them now, I would suggest that you're going to be exactly where you are now in 5 years' time. But if you start to adopt the principles we've talked about today, in 5 years' time, things are going to be a lot different. Of course, talking about how to optimize your profit, workflow, and cash flow is one thing. Putting things to action is an entirely different thing. But if you do action the principles we've talked about today, 5 years' time, guys, is going to be a different look. So really, there's never been a better time. Now's a great time. There's never a bad time, really, to be doing this stuff, but now's as good a time as any to start putting these things in place. So please be serious about following through. Where you put asterisks, make notes and come back and look how you're going to start your change your business from tomorrow forward. Make yourself accountable to someone. If you're really serious about getting systems and structures in place and doing it properly and efficiently, we do work with some trade businesses, and we do have some openings. So if you want to learn how to follow a tested roadmap, please let us know. Look, I want to thank you for attending the webinar this afternoon. Instead of figuring it all out for yourself, what I'd like you to do is respond to the email questionnaire we're going to send through after this session, and we'll see what we can do for you in your business and talk about if we can help you. Of course, we certainly don't work with everyone, and we wouldn't do that. We've got a very strong record. We want to keep it that way. So we don't just work with people willy-nilly. We want to make sure there's a fit. But if there is a fit, we can go away and do wonderful things together. Guys, I'd love to hear from you. Thanks for attending.